But something touched me deep inside the day the music died.
Hello everyone, Gilligan Kruger 0829 here, and welcome to the fourth and final day of my American Pie movie series review. Today we look at the long-awaited return to the franchise, American Reunion. That's right, it's been 13 years since the original Pie movie came out in theaters in the last millennium, if you can believe it. And now, all the original cast is back for more hijinks and hilarious mishaps. Is this a reunion truly worth remembering, or will this feel more like one of the straight-to-DVD sequels? Well, I'm happy to report that the answer in this case is the former. But let's take a look anyway. This is American Reunion. So, this movie starts out by showing where our old cast members are today, since we last saw them in Wedding. And we learned that Jim and Michelle are still married and now have a 2-year-old son, though their sex life has kind of fallen down a bit and they're hoping to get involved in that soon. Kevin is also married and now works as an architect. Oz is now an NFL broadcaster and is living the good life. Stifler is now a businessman, or more, an assistant to a businessman, and his life, not as much, I can say. And Finch, at first, is nowhere to be seen. No one's seen anything of him, but anyway, they decide, all of them, to get together for their high school reunion a few days before, so they can just relate, have some fun, and this is when Finch shows up. According to him, he has been touring the world these last few years. He's been through South America, he's been through Africa, the works. And that's what he's been to this whole time. So, over a few drinks, they decide that these next few days are going to be the best of all time, and nothing is going to stop them from making this reunion fantastic. Unfortunately, as you can guess, they all bump into problems. Kevin, for instance, is reunited with Vicky, and he worries that she is trying to get romantically involved with him, despite the fact that he's already married. Oz meets up with Heather again, and despite the fact that both of them are in relationships, they start to talk to each other again more so, that they haven't in the last couple of years. Finch actually meets up with one of Michelle's old band friends, Selena, played by Dania Ramirez, and they pretty much hit it off instantly. But the worst problems are for Jim. For literally the minute he gets back to his old house and meets up with his father, he's met by a girl he used to babysit, now grown up and 18, named Kara, played by the sexy Allie Corbin. God, I love her. And she wants to get involved with Jim and have him come to her birthday party and do a lot of fun stuff. The only problem is, Jim doesn't want anything to do with it. He wants to get related with Michelle and spend more time with her and the guys. And the movie that follows is essentially the days leading up to the reunion of the class of '99 and how things go from worse to bad. And we see lots of mishaps and whatnot throughout the way. So, yes. It's been a while since we've seen all these characters on the big screen. 9 years, in fact, since we saw them in Wedding. And stakes are high, since a lot of people are ready to see how these characters have matured. And let me tell you, they haven't changed a bit. They are great, and as a result, this film is hilarious. Let's go into the comedy firstly. Alright. While I brought up American Wedding, do you remember in my review of that, I said one of the problems I had was that I didn't really feel whether it wanted to be a straight-up comedy or a straight-up romance film, and sometimes that muddled it here. Well, the problem is not that with this movie. This film, I felt like it knew exactly wanted to be a straight-up comedy with some hints of romance in the background, and it works, because this movie, it's hilarious. I honestly don't think I've laughed this much since I saw The Other Guys in 2010, because scene after scene after scene, I just felt like they were so well put out. The comedy was both surprising and built up to. Honestly, some of the scenes were so funny I could feel my side splitting, and I don't laugh this much at a movie, and I wasn't even expecting the comedy to be my favorite part of this film, but it really surprised me. Particularly funny in this one are Stifler and Jim's dad, especially when we get onto it. Stifler kind of dominates the first half, and Jim's dad dominates the second half in terms of sheer humor and jokes. But let's look at what else holds the franchise together, the characters, and how they still interact. And they're still good. I'm happy that the old cast all got back together. Like, I'm glad we see Oz and Heather and Vicky, who, again, that was another problem I had with Wedding, that they didn't appear, and it was good to see them all together. And they're all acting just the way you remember them to be. You believe all of this, you believe the chemistry between these characters, the romance between these characters. It's all believable. It's all handled really well. Only now it's done with a more modern-esque feel. Like, I'm sort of reminded of when I saw Scream 4 last year. Like, it has the American Pie heart to it, but now it's set in a more modern world. Like, it looks completely different now that they've got, like, iPhones and MacBook Pros and whatnot. But again, it still feels classic, and I just loved it all the way through. I thought it was better than I had ever expected it to be. So yeah, the comedy is side-splitting, and the relationships, while toned down a bit, are really good. What could possibly be the problem with this movie? Well, how do I put this? There's only one real problem I actually had in this movie, and ironically enough, it didn't really pop up to like the last 15-20 minutes, but it did sort of feel a little bit heavy on me, and that's that at that point, towards the end, things started to feel forced to me. Like, they started to introduce some of the minor characters, like Sherman and Nadia and whatnot, towards the last bit of it, and that just felt like it was just thrown at us just for the sake of it. Like, they appear for 5 minutes, they exchange some dialogue, that's it. We don't get any more of them, and that was kind of a problem to me. Like, I know these characters didn't have huge roles, at least not so much as the main teens in the first few movies, but I would have liked to see a little bit more of them. Though, maybe that's a nitpick. I don't know. But the other thing that does feel kind of forced is some of the bonding moments between these characters. I know I praised that, so that sounds kind of weird, but some of it feels like it's being forced down your throat. Like, between Kevin and Vicky and Oz and Heather, you've got this typical, yeah, we shouldn't be together, but we're kind of being attracted to each other again. We've seen that before, and again, I wish that that was handled better, but again, more of a nitpick than a problem. Just something I noticed and kind of slowed it down for me. And one other thing, this isn't really an issue at all, this is just a little warning about the movie. This is one of the more raunchy, if not the most raunchy, of the Pie movies with the actual cast members in it, because it's not so much that there's a lot of nudity and sex in it, it's just when that does appear, it's pretty shocking, like, even for American Pie standards. So if you're a younger audience or planning on seeing this with younger audiences who can't really stand to see that kind of stuff, just giving you fair warning now. But again, I won't instruct you on what to do, since a 5-year-old came in with her parents to see this when I saw the movie on Friday night, so whatever, say what you wish. It's just my warnings, and yeah, there's that small little problem. But aside from that, this movie was better than I had even expected it to be. It was funny, and it was charming all in one. In fact, yeah, I'm really going to say it. I think this is the best of the 4 Pie movies. And that's kind of hard to say, considering I really enjoyed Pie 2 so much, but I think this tops that. I think it feels like it still has the American Pie heart even after all these years. It feels modern, but it's still classic Pie, and I loved it. If you're a fan of the franchise and have been looking up to this, I do not think you will be disappointed. I definitely recommend you give it a watch. And as such, I'm giving American Pie for the reunion, or just American Reunion, 4 stars out of 5. And at the end of the series review, I will say my favorite Pie movie is this one, and my least favorite is still Wedding. And that was the end of my American Pie series review for 2012. You can find all my movie reviews on my YouTube channel. If you have a movie you'd like me to review, comment on this video or on my channel. Subscribe if you like. Until next time, peace!
So bye-bye, Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. And them good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye, singing, this'll be the day that I die. This'll be the day that I